Hello, and welcome back to our Yakuza 4 Remastered playthrough. In our last episode, the first episode, we met Mr. Akiyama Shun, the rather handsome devil in front of us, who is a moneylender of sorts, in that he lends money, doesn't charge interest, sorry, and only asks a favour from those who he lends money to. We also learned that people only ever borrow from him once. Not sure how that works, but apparently it does. And yes, most of his clients are underground types. Let's just put that out there as well. And he seems to have got entangled in a little, not so much turf war, because the families involved are very, very small, but a little bit of unpleasantness is happening between two families to which he is acquainted. And the police have just finished interrogating him about a murder that occurred at the very end of last episode, chucked him out, and we now have to head back to the office to placate his secretary, basically. So we're going to do that. Yeah, Sky Finance is around here somewhere. Probably where the pink triangle is pointing, I would say, on the minimap. That bloke down the end is just, he was a Boy Scout, so he's already in his raincoat because he knows it's very likely to rain at some point in the very near future. A cash-starved hostess says, I know there's a pawn shop called Ebisu Pawn around here somewhere. Where, though? Knowledgeable hostess says, Ebisu Pawn? It's on this street, not too far down. I go there all the time. Cash-starved hostess says, great, one of my customers gave me a present that I'm really not into. Figured I could at least get some cash for it, you know. Knowledgeable hostess says, you're going to love Ebisu Pawn. They offer the best prices for anything you bring in. Really? Okay. I happen to have a bit of mouldy garbage. I wonder what he'll pay for that. Hello. Manager says, hello sir, what can I do for you today? I'd like to flog off this bit of mouldy garbage you have. I have. The manager asks, what do you have to sell? No, I'm not selling that. Here, you can take it off my hands for free. Thank you. At least it's not cluttering up my baggage anymore. Well, what do you have there? You've got a popularity bracelet. This will make you more popular with the ladies, I guarantee it. I sincerely doubt it. Lucky bracelet, protective amulet, a tiger skin belt, chainmail, brass pearl, a metal badge, titanium driver, nameless short, 80,000 monies for a nameless short sword. A fake silver plate. You don't have much, do you, sir? Not like in previous Yakuza games. Don't tell me we've tapped the well dry. Punk says, Aniki, how about we play some mahjong? Word is Orchid Palace Mahjong is holding a tournament. Aniki says, oh yeah? Punk says, yeah, you know that magazine Modern Mahjong? They're holding some kind of contest to find the best mahjong player in the country, and Orchid Palace is taking part. Aniki says, sounds fun. They'll let any old mug off the street join up? Punk says, pretty sure. Orchid Palace here is working hard to figure out who's the top mahjong dog in Kamurocho. Aniki says, well, obviously it's me. Come on, let's go show these bitches how it's done. Yes, John Lennon. You do that. And we will go on. Oh, Club Sega. What's in Club Sega now? Virtua Fighter 5. Boxelios 2. No real idea. Mini Kongs. Not really as much of a selection as previous. Consistent Loser, interesting name, says, oh man, I still want to play pachinko, but I've got to go to work now, and the pachinko place will be closed by the time I get off. Stay-at-home pachinko player says, why don't you try 777 Town then? It's the best way to play away from the parlour. Consistent Loser asks, 777 Town, what's that? Stay-at-home pachinko player says, with 777 Town you can play pachinko or slots on your PC. They've got over 100 types of machines too. Consistent Loser says, you can play as much as you want on over 100 machines. Seriously? Stay-at-home pachinko player says, and you can play from your phone too. Pretty sweet, don't you think? Consistent Loser says, I gotta check this out. Man, screw work, it's time for me to get back to pachinko full time. Akiyama says to himself, 777 Town? Sounds like something the girls at the club might be into. If you say so. I wonder if Hana-chan might like to know about that. There's usually something in here, isn't there? That we can pick up. Fine. Serious. You look a bit old. Anyway, Serious Sophomore says, you know that murder in Tenkaichi Street? Yeah, the cops pulled me aside, asked me about it. Freaky, huh? Frantic Freshman says, wait, really? Oh, jeez, why would they do that? Do you think they think you're the murderer or something? Serious Sophomore says, no, dummy, don't you ever watch TV? Detectives always interview random people to see if they witnessed the crime. Well, I mean, they got plastic garbage. Yummy. It's like, can we inspect plastic garbage? We can't use it here. Okay. Just go away then. And you watch, it'll all be useful at some point later, and it'll give us something really excellent. Disappointed Foreigner says, here I thought I'd be living the dream. Huh? Why do I look so down? Well, I came all the way here to the land of cherry blossom trees to study Japanese, but half the people in this town don't even speak it. Especially when you go west of the Champion District to Little Asia. What's Asia doing in my Japan? I tried to go in, but they yelled at me in some foreign language and shooed me away. This is Japan, speak Japanese. Non-Japanese speakers. The gatekeepers at the entrances to Little Asia don't speak Japanese. However, a character who can speak other prominent Asian languages, such as Chinese, Korean, or Tagalog, might be able to talk their way in. This information needs to be edited as a memo and all the memo stuff. Disappointed foreigner says, guess once I master Japanese, I'll have to start learning Chinese. Why can't anything be easy? We gained 500 experience. For him having a meltdown. I suppose better him having a meltdown than me. There's a thing in the middle of the road. Akiyama thinks there's something here. We got Taihei Boulevard locker key E2. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Oh, that woman who we couldn't talk to before. Didn't we do you last time? Yakuza 2. Man says, the fuck are you going to do about the contact lens you just stepped on? Now I can't see shit. You better pay up, pea-brain. Ooh. Really? Not sure what that motorcycle thought it was doing, but anyway. Yep. The man says, ow, I'm sorry I lied about all that. Here's something for your trouble. Sorry. And we got a dreamy toughness Z. What about it makes it dreamy, I wonder? You sure you don't mean creamy? But then I suppose I should be more suspicious. Fortune Curious Woman says, the admirable Naomi-san. Maybe I'll have my fortune told. But she's always got this weird green afro guy at her side, and there's rumours that she doesn't really tell your fortune, but her prices are super high. Naomi's Palace. Naomi's Palace provides the following services: retrieve item packs and receive completion rewards. You can also speak with Naomi to hear rumours about happenings around town. And that's been added as a memo. Fortune Curious Woman asks, can I really get my fortune read here? Maybe I'll stop by the next time I'm worried about my future. You gained 500 experience. Yay! Gossipy businessman asks, did you know there was a murder right near here? Curious businesswoman asks, what, really? Did they catch the killer yet? Gossipy businessman says, I read about it online, but they haven't got the killer yet. Probably already skipped town. Curious businesswoman says, I sure hope so. Still, I think I'll go home early today. Well, you do that. I'm not sure your attire's entirely business, but anyway. Kansai man says, heard rumours of this gate for years. Can't believe my peepers it's actually standing in front of me now. Okay. If you say so, my friend. Sorry, madam, sorry. Wise homeless man says, oh ho, you there. Interested in knowing more about the Kamurocho Underground? Well, most normal people know about the parking lots in the underground malls. That's just common knowledge here in Kamurocho. But they're just amateurs, little league players at best. The big league players know the whole deal, from the sewers to the underground railway. Heck, there are tons of places we still haven't discovered. The underground. The underground area contains essential Kamurocho locations such as the underground mall and the parking lot. There's also a rumour that some homeless people have made the underground their new home. Perhaps you'll discover the truth behind these rumours as you explore the underground. And that's all a memo. Wise homeless man says you'd be surprised just how deep the underground goes. We gained 500 experience. Bully for us. I'd better go see Hana-chan before she does her top entirely. You want to get beat up again, sir? I'm coming, Hana-chan. Don't blow your stack.
ライト。
すみません。
あ、すみません。お客さんですか。どうぞどうぞ。はい。
スカイファイナンスってこちらでよろしいんでしょうか。
ええ。ああ、ここちょっと分かりにくい場所ですもんね。どうぞどうぞ、おかけください。
はい。はい。
ご融資のご相談でしょうか。
ええ、まあ。
はい。
タバコ吸ってもいいでしょうか。
ああ、はいはい。どうぞどうぞ。すいませんね。接客はいつもジムの女の子に任せっきりなもんで、こういう時気が利きませんで。どうぞ。
すみません。
あの
はい。
それでご融資の件ですが。
はい。それなんですが、
ええ。
こちら保証人や担保なしで無制限にお金を貸してもらえるというのは本当でしょうか？
無制限ですか。どちらでそのような話を？言えないと。まあいいでしょう。多分あなたへの融資を断った同業他社の方にでも聞いたんでしょうから。うちの店は金貸せないけどあの店なら貸してくれるかもよって。どうせ他にもいろいろ吹き込まれたんでしょ。うちの店は同業の人たちにはあんまり評判良くないでしょうからね。で、おいくらほど必要なんですか？ライターお借りしてもいいですか？
ええ、どうぞ。
大女優。ああ、まあ、いや、カムロ町にしては変わった名前のお店だなと思いまして。今、あなたが働いてるお店のライター？
いや、そうではないんですけど、以前そのお店にお世話になっていたことがありまして。
そっちの業界長いんですか？
ええ、まあそれなりに。
で、いくら必要なんですか？とりあえずいくら貸してほしいのか言ってくれなくちゃこっちも話のしようがないんで。
1億。現金で1億円。10日以内に私に融資していただけませんでしょうか
1億ですか。
はい。
保証人はい
ません。
担保も？
ありません。
保証人なし、担保なし。それで現金一括で1億円ね。あんたさ、自分の言ってることの意味分かってんの？
やっぱり無理ですよね、そんな話。そうですよね。すみません。私どうかしてました。この話忘れてください。お時間取らせてしまってすみませんでした。それじゃ。
ちょっと待った。貸さないとは言ってませんよ。まあゆっくりお茶でも飲みながらお話ししませんか？
Here's tea. Akiyama says, now here's the deal. We require each of our clients to pass a test before we finance their loans. The woman asks, a test? Akiyama replies, that's right. A test to gauge whether or not we can trust you. The woman asks, trust me? Akiyama says, yep, we test all of our customers before agreeing to loan them anything. We had one person care for the elderly for a week, and another pick up all the litter in Kamurocho. We even had one woman work in the red light district. The woman has nothing to say to this. Akiyama says the tests get more difficult depending upon the loan amount and terms. And in your case, well, the woman says the test will be hard. Akiyama nods. You got it. But if you pass, I promise to loan you the amount you want under the terms you specified.
「以上が当店からの条件です。テストに合格しなければ融資することはできません。さっき10日以内って言ってたけど、つまりあなたすぐにお金が必要なんだよね。
はい。
急いでるんだよね。
はい、そうです。
でもテストに受からなかったら時間の無駄遣いになっちゃうわけなんだけど、どうします？それでもテストの方受けてみますか？
はい、やらせてください。
本当にいいんですね。
私にはもう他の選択肢はないんです。お願いします。そのテスト受けさせてください。
Akiyama says, all right. Do you mind if I take this? The woman says, go right ahead. Akiyama says, Sky Finance. Kido says, oh, is this Akiyama-san? Akiyama says, Kido-chan, where are you? Is everything okay? Kido says, I'm down at the Kamurocho precinct. They just finished grilling me about Kanemura-san. Akiyama asks, Kanemura? What were they doing questioning you? Kido says, I'm the one who found him. Walked back into the office and there he was, dead. Akiyama says, sorry you had to see that, but hey, it hasn't exactly been smooth sailing on my end either. Speaking of, I take it you've heard about Horizon by now. Kido says, yeah, some detective named Sugiyuchi told me. I still can't wrap my head around it. Akiyama says, me neither. Listen, we shouldn't talk about this stuff over the phone. You free to meet up later? Kido says, yeah, I got some questions I want to ask you too. Akiyama says, sure thing. Think you could call me back in a few though? I'm just finishing up with a customer. Kido says, oh yeah, no problem. Akiyama says, talk to you soon. And hangs up. He says, sorry about that. Seems another one of my customers is in a bit of a pinch. The woman says, it's fine. Akiyama says, so back to business. 10 days, 100 million yen. The woman nods. That's right. Akiyama says, understood. In that case, can I ask you to swing by again tomorrow? I'm going to need a little time to mull that test over. The woman says, okay. Akiyama says, come prepared though. We'll be starting right when you get here. The woman bows deeply and says, I will.
So それじゃあ明日
ご来店お待ちしてます。お名前聞いてもよろしいですか？
リリーと言います。
リリさんですか？それは本名？それともお店の名前？
言わないとダメですか？
いえ、いいです。明日のご来店お待ちしてます。
Akiyama is now on the phone and he's headed up to the roof. He says, "Hey, it's Akiyama. Sorry to spring this on you last minute, but I'm bringing a new girl into the club. She starts tomorrow. Provided she actually shows up, that is. Rearrange the shifts, shuffle things around. I don't care how you do it, just make it work. Look, I know how to run my business. Besides, I already made up my mind. Don't let me down. Later." Akiyama starts thinking to himself as Hana-chan is looking up at him up the stairs. The ball's in her court now. That's what she said. Hana-chan says, "Oh, Chief, you actually decided to show up today." Interesting choice for a bow tie. I mean, obviously it's a handkerchief, but yes, very interesting positioning. Don't think I've ever seen it done like that anyway. Back to the story. Akiyama says, "Good to see you too, Hana-chan." And now we've gone back inside. We now have access to a hideout. Here you can save your game, move items to the item box, reminisce on past events, and view your play stats. Furthermore, your health will recover while at a hideout. Akiyama thinks to himself, maybe I'll walk around the town while I wait for Kido-chan to call me back. I mean, I'm glad my secretary is so very busy that she's reading manga at her workstation. Anyway, but yes, this safe just being right here, right in front of the door as you walk straight in and see said safe. I mean, I hope it's behind this book. The real one is behind this bookcase somewhere. Probably you just yank that green one backwards and it opens. But anyway, it just doesn't seem very safe for a safe to be there in full view of everyone who walks in. What on earth is that? Why is the chair wearing leg warmers? You know what? It is far from the weirdest thing I have ever seen come out of Japan, so I'll just say that it's doing aerobics old style. And have a nice little walk around the town while we wait for Kido. Oh. Might be him. Akiyama says, "Hello." Kido-chan says, "Akiyama-san, it's me. Is now a good time?" Akiyama says, "Yep, we're all in the clear. What's up?" Kido says, "There's something I've got to talk to you about. You mind if we meet up for a few?" Akiyama says, "Not at all. Where at?" Kido suggests, "How about that building in Theatre Square? You know, the red one down the alley? We'll have some privacy there." Anyway, it's the one right across from the movie theatre. I'll be waiting up on the roof. Oh, that's where people go to execute other people. Okay. Akiyama says, roof of the red building. Got it. Ito says, perfect. See you there. I'm sure he will see us there. Ready to blow our brains out. Akiyama thinks to himself, sounds like I should head over to Theatre Square. Well, it does. Well, yep. Yep. No, that's an option. On the other hand, I'm not all that interested in having my brains blow out by low-level Yakuza. Akiyama speaking. Ana says, oh Chief, I'm so glad I caught you. Akiyama asks, why? What's up? Hana says there's a customer who wants to see you. It seems kind of important. Can you come back to the office? Akiyama says, yeah, hang tight. I'll be there as soon as I can. Well, that sounds like something we should go and attend to quickly. Because, yeah, being lured up onto a rooftop at the end of a closed alley seems like not the best way to spend a sunny afternoon. Hana-chan says, oh Chief, we have a customer waiting. Akiyama asks, the one you told me about on the phone? Got it, thanks. Don't you look snazzy? Akiyama says, apologies for the wait. So tell me, what brings you here today? Man seeking loan asks, are you Akiyama-san? You provide interest-free loans here, is that right? Akiyama says, indeed I do. That said, there are a few conditions. May I ask your name? Shiobara says, it's Shiobara. How much are you willing to lend out, usually? Akiyama asks, mind telling me why you need the money first? That'll help me decide whether or not I should give you the loan. Shiobara says, well, not too long ago I drove my printing company into bankruptcy. I'd inherited the place from my father, you see. But this time I figure I'll start my own company, from the ground up. Akiyama asks, you ran your father's company into the ground? Shiobara says, it made money, but not enough to get out of the red. In the end, all I could do was downsize, but downsizing isn't always the best option, you know. The company was already on its way under. If our only available option was downsizing, wouldn't it have been better to just pull the plug? I think it's cowardly to fire people just to try and keep a company artificially afloat. So I took responsibility for my bad management and let the place go bankrupt. No hard feelings all around, right? Akiyama says, I see. Well, thinks to himself, I see. Spoken like a typical spoiled heir. Shiobara says, the old company doesn't matter now anyway. What's important is getting this new company off the ground. So, will you lend me some money? You are an incredibly bad risk, sir. Akiyama says, I'm not against the idea, but why come to me? Can't you get your bank to cover it? Yeah. Shiobara says, I guess I didn't pass their review. They asked me what business the company would be in, but I hadn't decided yet. Something online, that's for sure. Well, at least you're thinking forward. That could be very, very beneficial for you, particularly if you make it to 2020. Akiyama says, still haven't figured it out yet. Shiobara asks, what, you need planning documents too? Don't you loan sharks usually skip all that formality crap? Akiyama says, no, it's just... Never mind, how much do you need? Shiobara says, let's see, how about $1 million? How about 5 million? Akiyama, asks, why so much? Though now I think about it, you probably have no idea how much you really need. What the hell? I'll lend you the 5 mil. No interest, no collateral. Shiobara asks, seriously? You're not pulling my leg here? Akiyama says, but first you're going to have to pass my test. Shiobara says, sure, bring it on. I don't know what kind of test you're talking about, but I'll do anything you ask. Akiyama says, all right. So you want to start a company, be its president? In that case, I'll need you to... Invite a hostess here after the club closes? That could be interesting. Bring me 10 president's business cards. No, find 3 business partners. Akiyama says, find 3 people to be your business partners and bring them to me. Shibata says, business partners? 3 of them? Is that really all you need? Akiyama says, yeah, people who'd be happy to help build up a company. What do you think? Can you do it? Shibata asks, what are you talking about? I've got tons of friends. It won't take long at all. I'll be right back, okay? Better get that 5 million for me. Hana says, Chief, I couldn't help but overhear. Are you really going to lend money to that piece of work? He's nowhere near fit to start a company. Akiyama says, you think so too, huh? To tell you the truth, I agree. He's all talk. You see a lot of that nowadays. Hana asks, so you never planned on giving him a loan in the first place? And why bother with the test? Akiyama says, well, I'll lend him the money, but only if he passes. I'm going to teach him it's a rough world out there. Hana asks, but what if, just on the off chance? Akiyama laughs. Don't worry about it. A big mouth like him could never hope to pass one of my tests. You know, Hana-chan, a man might have lots of people he calls friend, but I doubt many of them would actually be willing to risk their livelihoods on him. He says it'll be a cinch to find 3 of them, but unless he's especially trustworthy or charismatic, they won't be on board. And Shiobara has returned, looking rather dejected. Akiyama says, welcome back. So, where are those 3 partners? Shiobara says, they just don't understand. I told them they could easily pull in 100 million a year if they just left everything to me. Akiyama says, so you failed the test. Yeah. Shiobara says, it's not my fault, it's theirs. They're just too blind to see it. And after all those times, they begged me for an invite to my parties too. Akiyama asks, parties? Shiobara says, my online game parties. You mean you haven't heard? They're kind of a big deal. They call me Hurricane Salt. Not really impressed, dude. Akiyama says, I see. Well, it hardly matters at this point. You weren't able to pass the test, which means our loan discussion is over. My apologies. Hana-chan, would you mind showing Shiobara-san here out? It's time for him to go. Hi. Hana says, of course, right this way, sir. Shiobara says, wait just a second. You're telling me you know all about me from one lousy test? Who do you think you are, a god? Please, I'm counting on you. Give me just one more chance. One more. Akiyama says nothing. Shiobara begs, please, I'm begging you, let me try again. I swear I'll take it a whole lot more seriously this time. Akiyama says, we have other business to attend to, you know. But it doesn't look like you'll be leaving any time soon, so... all right, one more time. I'm just going to select invite a hostess here after the club closes for the laughs. Akiyama says, invite a hostess out after the club closes and bring her back here to my office. Shiobara asks, a hostess club? That's it? I just bring the girl here and the 5 million's mine? I don't know. Akiyama says, oh, come on, it should be a piece of cake for a guy like you. What's the problem? Shiobara says, I just don't have the cash. Hostess clubs are expensive, you know. It's a real shame. I'd have all kinds of girls trailing after me if I just had the money. I'd be like the Pied Piper of Kamurocho. Akiyama says, I guess I'll have to point you over to my friend's hostess club then. You can put it on my tab. The place is called Sweet, over on Pink Street. Just tell them Akiyama sent you, and they'll take care of the rest. Shiobara asks, really? Akiyama says, you can't do it without money, right? Well, I'm making that particular problem go away. So what do you think? Can you do that? Shiobara says, yes, of course, no problem at all. I'll bring you the best hostess in the club. I'll be right back, okay? Better get that 5 million ready for me. You're not coming back with any hostess. Hana asks, Chief, why are you giving him a second chance? You'd usually send someone like him well on his way by now. Akiyama says, he's just so astoundingly clueless. Don't you want to see how it all ends? Hana says, not particularly. Look at it from my perspective. You always forget to collect on your loans. Too many boneheaded customers like him, and I'll be up to my neck in extra work. Akiyama says, and I appreciate every last ounce of work you do, Hana-chan. Don't I always treat you to a delicious meal at the end of every month? Hana says, I guess you can do what you want. It is your company, after all. But why'd you send him to a hostess club? He'll just go out and have fun, and on your tab, no less. Akiyama says, a first-time visitor to a hostess club hardly ever manages to invite a girl out afterward. Anybody who succeeds is either rich or a smooth talker, but this guy's broke, so... Hana says, so he has about a 0% chance of pulling this off. Akiyama laughs. We don't know that. I mean, he might fall into some crazy beginner's luck. Hana says, that would be a miracle. Akiyama says, well, if he pulls off a miracle at a time like this, it'll be the first of many. Luck is just another kind of talent, wouldn't you agree? Hana says, maybe, but even so, if that guy gets his very own miracle, then he's one of the most talented men I've ever met. Shiobara has returned, again with nothing to say. Akiyama says, welcome back. So where's that hostess? Shiobara says, oh, that club is no good. The girl at my table only said a few words, then clammed up almost immediately. Isn't it her job to get the conversation going? I'm the customer, the paying customer. Akiyama says, yeah, paying with someone else's money. Shiobara says, seriously though, any other club and I would have had him eating out of the palm of my hand. It all boils down to a bad club. Akiyama says, even if we were to assume it was the club's fault, you still didn't manage to pass the test. That means I won't be giving you a loan. Hana-chan, would you mind showing Shibara-san here out? It's time for him to go. Hana says, of course, right this way, sir. Shiobara says, wait just a second. If you'd just let me try a different test, I'm positive I'd pass with flying colours. Please, I'm counting on you. Give me just one more chance. One more. Akiyama sighs, fine, but this is really and truly your last chance. How about you bring us 10 President's business cards? Akiyama says, bring me the business cards of 10 company presidents. Any kind of company will do. Shiobara says, 10 business cards, is that really all you need? Akiyama says, corporate CEOs, presidents of small factories, take your pick. Just find 10 of them, get their cards and bring them here. Shiobata asks, are you sure? That sounds pretty easy. I mean, I used to be a president myself. I can get 20 or even 30 cards, no problem. Akiyama says, excellent, I'm glad to hear it. Well, good luck. I'll see you soon. Shiobata says, I'll be right back, okay? Better get that 5 million ready for me. And off he goes. Hana says, Chief, enough's enough. I've never seen you give anybody this many chances. Akiyama says, I suppose you're right. But it's all just so interesting, don't you think? Guys are walking disaster. Hana says, Chief. Akiyama says, if it were you, Hana-chan, how would you go about collecting 10 presidents' cards? Hana says, well, I'd probably pop into an office building and talk to company presidents directly. Akiyama says, a frontal attack, huh? Good answer. As for me, I'd probably grab a hold of a president or two, take them to a print shop, and have them make me some cards. Hana says, a little aggressive maybe, but yeah, that sounds like something you'd do. Akiyama says, nothing wrong with that. Hell, I could even have a print shop make up a bunch of fake cards if I wanted. Your straightforward method requires courage, while my way calls for quick wit. Regardless, I doubt he's capable of either. And so he's back, looking very dejected once more. Akiyama says, welcome back. So, you got those cards?
Yeah.
Shiobata says, I only have one, my father's. None of the CEOs I knew at my company were even in this town. Are there any company presidents here? It's all businessmen and restaurateurs. Akiyama says, actually, you're looking at one. Sorry if my appearance deceived you. Well, since you weren't able to pass the test, I'm afraid I won't be giving you the loan after all. Hana-chan, would you mind showing Shiobata-san here out? It's time for him to go.
Hi.
Hana says, of course, right this way, so. Shiobata says, wait just a second, that test was set up all wrong. I can do better, I promise. Please, I'm counting on you. Give me just one more chance. One more. Akiyama says, it's always just one more with you. I've given you 3 chances already. No matter how many times you try, you'll never pass. Shiobara looks really dejected. Akiyama says, all right, so leave. I'm tired of having to string along a big talking nitwit. Shiobata says, please, this is it, my very last chance. If you give up on me now, I'm finished. Akiyama asks, will you just leave already? Shiobata says, I'm positive I can build a company that will never ever need to downsize. Akiyama says, you really want to start your own company, don't you? Are you sure you're being entirely honest with me? And with yourself? Shiobata says, absolutely. No lies and no excuses, period. Akiyama says, fine. Then this is your honest-to-goodness last chance. You failed. You leave. Got it? Shiobata says, got it. I'll pass it for sure this time. You'll see. Akiyama says, okay, here we go. My friend's leaflet company is in the red. If you can get it to turn a profit again, I'll lend you the 5 million yen. Shiobata says, but that could take years. Akiyama says, the door is right there if you're not interested. What's it going to be? You in or out? Shiobata says, all right, where is this leaflet company then? Akiyama says, it's Paradise Advertising on West Shichifuku Street, just past the M store. Let me give them a call. Akiyama says, hello, on the phone. Hello, Paradise Advertising. This is Akiyama over at Sky Finance. Paradise Advertising president says, Akiyama-san, to what do I owe the pleasure? Akiyama says, you've been asking for management advice, right? I found just the man for the jobs. Name's Shiobata-kun. I'll be sending him your way shortly. Paradise Advertising president asks, really? Shiobara-san, is it? Thank you so much. I'll be waiting. And it's the phone call. Akiyama says to Shiobara, now it's all up to you. Paradise Advertising is on West Shichifuku Street. I'm sure you'll see it when you get there. Shiobara says, all right, I'll be back. Hana says, Chief, are you sure about this? That's one heck of a test. Isn't Paradise Advertising doing really bad right now, business-wise? Stuck in the red even though sales remain strong and steady? Akiyama says, yeah, that's right. Even if sales go through the roof, the expenses are always higher. Hana says, which means their only choice is to downsize and cut their... Ah, Akiyama says. Yep, all they can do is downsize. And our friend, Shiobara-kun, who would rather see a company die than shrink, will now be forced to do just that. Hana says, you're a bad man, Chief. Akiyama says, call it shock therapy. If he can't do this, he's hopeless. Hana says, shock therapy? Don't you think you should go check up on him just in case? You never know. Akiyama says, well, if you insist. Hana says, do you remember where Paradise Advertising is? The west end of Shichifuku Street. Akiyama says, just past the M store, right? I'll be fine. I've been there plenty of times. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. Hold down the fort till I get back. Man says, excuse me, you have a second? It turns out a certain someone thinks you're a real nuisance. Now, are you going to let us beat you up so we can collect our paycheck? Well, I mean, you could try, Mr. Street Punk. Ooh, your nose probably isn't liking that. Man says, sorry. Actually, no one said us to rough you up. We thought the cops would let us off easier if we told them we were hired muscle. We did it for the money, that's all. Totally an impulse beating. I hope this makes up for it. And we got an impulsive 3,000 monies. Yay. No, we don't want that. No. Please. Yes, it's been long enough that, West Street. There we go. It's up there anyway. Cheerful high school. You're in high school. Okay. Cheerful high school girl says, I send like 100 emails a day, so listen when I tell you this. Keep your emails organized by folder. That way you won't get all flustered when you get like 40 all at once. Using email, in addition to receiving emails from the people you know, you may also receive e-zine emails packed with useful information from time to time. Emails that you receive are separated into categories based on the sender, making it easy to find specific messages. You can also reply to emails from hostesses, so be sure to keep an eye on any messages and reply quickly. And that's all the memo stuff. cheerful high school girl says, "Oh," he replied right away, "I'm going to do the same." We've gained 500 experience points, I think. Yeah, I'm just not going to say that because stuff. Savvy Citizen says, sometimes they hand out special editions of Tokyo sports around here. Of course, they don't hand them out unless something big happens, but if you manage to get one, it feels like you were here for a historic moment. Special editions of magazines. When something remarkable happens, special editions of magazines are distributed in Theatre Square. There's no telling when they'll be handed out, so keep checking Theatre Square. And that's all a memo. Savvy Citizen says, that's why I can never stop circling Kamurocho. I've got to have them all. Like Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. Looks like he's losing his lunch in there. You're right, buddy. Perhaps don't drink at lunchtime. Akiyama thinks to himself, a manhole, huh? The lid's too heavy for me to lift up and open. Nothing there, so... Where is this leaflet firm? Near the M store, that's right. Man says, so you know what? Today's my birthday. That means I deserve a heaping pile of presents. Why don't you start it off? Are you just gonna ignore me? Oh, that's no fun. In fact, it makes me kinda angry. I think I'm gonna go ahead and kill you now, okay? Well, that's your choice. Oh, well. Look. You're not Eddie Honda. You're not gonna get me like that. Get the feeling he didn't like that. Gee, that's a lot of blood. Man says, I'm sorry, I'll behave. I'll tell the truth, I won't pick fights. Just forgive me. Here, take this, and seriously, forgive me. We got a Drab Stamina X. Good for us. Now, where's the M shop? M shop. Akiyama asks, yo, what's going on? Oh, it's right here. Paradise Advertising President says, oh, Akiyama-san, well, that Shiobara guy you sent us over showed up. He marched in blustering about how he was going to put me in the black, but when I showed him the books, I guess he ran out of steam. Akiyama says, Well, the thing is, he'd inherited his father's company but didn't want to downsize. Because of that, he wound up running the place into the ground. The Paradise Advertising president asks, he willingly ruined his father's business just to avoid downsizing? Say, Akiyama-san, do you think that'll happen to my place too? Akiyama says, most likely. I peered over your books last time we talked. You'd be hard-pressed to get any more profit, and you've cut all the corners you can. The only thing left to do is... Paradise Advertising president finishes, is to downsize. I know. Well, that may be true, but still, these people have been with me from day one. Akiyama says, I've got to be frank with you here. It's your job as president to make this decision. Paradise Advertising president says, I guess you're right. Akiyama says, oh, another thing. Do you know where Shiobara-kun went? Paradise Advertising president says, not exactly. He was walking toward Children's Park, though. Akiyama says, he was? Thanks. I'll have to stop by again sometime soon. Well, let's go to the kiddies' park. Do you want another present for your birthday, sir? No? Okay. Akiyama asks, well, did you think of a way to get them back on track? Shiobara says nothing. Akiyama says, what's wrong? You dropped by Paradise Advertising, yeah? Shiobara says, you knew all along, didn't you? Akiyama asks, knew what? Shiobara says, you sent me to that company knowing full well that the only thing they could do was downsize. They have sufficient sales and good management. They take all the leaflet orders they can. I don't see how they could possibly bring in any more money. Which means they have to reduce their expenses. Employee salaries have already been slashed and there's simply no more fat to trim. Their president is a real go-getter too. Keeps pristine books, has great employee morale, and still he's stuck in the red. Akiyama says, now that sounds like the CEO you claim to be. You're looking in all the right places. Shiobara says, if we need to reduce expenses, there's only one thing left to cut, personnel costs. In other words, an angry man says, hey, if it isn't old Shiobara's idiot son, imagine my surprise running into you here. Shiobara says, you worked for my father's company? The angry ex-employee says, so you remember me, do you? Well, thanks to you bringing down your old man's business, I'm still out of a job. Shiobara says, but I either had to downsize or close the place down. My hands were tied and I... The angry ex-employee shouts, well, then you should have downsized. You think your way was more noble? My hands were tied? Ha! You think that's going to make up for all the hardship you've caused? Shiobara says, speaking as a manager, downsizing is... Angry ex-employee asks, does it make you proud that you didn't downsize? Well, guess what, pal? Your pride won't put food on the table. Who'd hire me now at my age? I either live on the street or die in the gutter. Take some responsibility and die alongside me. Well, why not? And you do have the crazy eyes going on, don't you, sir? Akiyama says, bad idea, old man. Once you take a life, your own life is over for good. Angry ex-employee shouts, shut up! You could never understand how I feel. Never! Akiyama says, you're right, I couldn't. Still, murder's not the answer. Angry ex-employee asks, what's your deal anyway? You taking this moron's side? Akiyama says, if you want to try to start over, I can help. Well, I can lend you money anyway. Angry ex-employee says, I don't want your damn money. How dare you insult me? That does it. We'll all go down together. That's not the sort of thing you should do in a park, sir, especially not a children's park. That would be bad. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this shoe. I can just beat him around the head with it, apparently. Akiyama talks to the bloke who's now sitting on the ground and he says, "Hey." Angry ex-employee says, "Enough of this bullshit. I worked with his dad for more than 30 years. We were good friends, all of us. And then this ignorant moron, he tore it all to pieces. That company was..." He bursts into tears. Shiobara has nothing to say. Akiyama says, "It can't be easy to start over at your age, but if you're willing to try, stop by Sky Finance in Tenkaichi Street. I'm just a moneylender, but a little money might be just what you need right now." Angry ex-employee asks, "Sky Finance?" Akiyama says, "Drop by any time." Shiobara says, "You knew all along. You knew that downsizing was the only way to get that company in the black." Akiyama says, "Yep, sure did." Shiobara shouts, "I knew it. Then why? Why?" Akiyama has nothing to say. Shiobara says, "His friends had been with him from the start. The president didn't want to downsize, but that was the only way to save his company." Akiyama says, "And he still couldn't bring himself to do it, so you've come here to mull it all over, is that right?" Shiobara has nothing to say. Akiyama says, "That angry old man, Paradise Advertising, I imagine you probably understand this now, but downsizing isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sure, it's not always the ideal or even the only option, but sometimes you have to do what's best for the company. If you don't, you might end up hurting a lot more people, like that old man." Shiobara has nothing to say. Akiyama asks, "Do you see what I'm trying to say?" Shiobara says, "Akiyama-san, could you ask that leaflet company guy to come meet us here?" Akiyama says, "Sure, I'll call him right now." So he whips out his phone and says, "Yes, hello, this is Akiyama from Sky Finance. We have something we'd like to talk to you about. Could you come meet us at the park?" Fade to black, and he'll rock up. Apparently, yes, there he is. Paradise Advertising President says, "What is it, Akiyama-san? Is something wrong?" Akiyama says, "Shiobara-kun wants to talk to you." Shiobara says, "Oh, well, I once brought down my father's printing company because I didn't want to downsize and lose all of the good people he'd employed over the years. And now your company's in the same position mine was. My apologies if this is too forward, but you have to downsize." Paradise Advertising President says, "Yes, I thought as much, but my people have been with me since the beginning. How could I just force them out like that?" Shiobara says, "If the business fails, that's it. Everything's over. All of your employees get hurt. Every last one of them." Paradise Advertising President has nothing to say. Shiobara says, "I understand it's a tough decision to make, but it's the president's responsibility to protect the company." Paradise Advertising President asks, "Akiyama-san?" Akiyama-san nods. "I agree. Downsizing is the only option. My heart goes out to you, but it's got to be better than turning everybody out into the streets." Paradise Advertising President says, "I see. I guess that really is the only way to go then." Shiobara says, "I just have one favor to ask of you. If this downsizing does turn your company around, make sure the people who are forced out get first crack at working for you again. After all, it's those employees who served the company by leaving, and they'd all been friends and co-workers for a long time." Paradise Advertising President says, "All right, I promise I will. When I first met you, Shiobara-san, I'd assumed you were nothing more than some half-baked smartass, but now I see that you look out for everyone like a fine upstanding CEO. I know it's awfully hard, but we've got to do the best we can by our employees. Now, if you'll excuse me... Shiobara says, thank you very much. I've learned a lot from all of this. Akiyama says, Paradise Advertising will be in the black soon enough, so let's consider the test passed. The money is yours, provided you're still interested. Shiobara says, yes, I am. I can't give up now. I still don't know what kind of company to build, but I'm going to do my best to make sure it brings happiness to everyone who works there. I can promise you that much. Akiyama says, and for right now, that's enough. Here you are then, 5 million yen. Shiobara says, thank you so much. I'm going to give it everything I've got. This is all I've got, but I'd like you to at least have some token of my gratitude. Please accept it, along with my thanks. We got a copy of Memoirs of an Action Star. Akiyama says, sure, why not? Thank you kindly. Shiobara says, all right, I'm off. I'm about to become a very busy man. Yes, you are. We gained 5,000 experience. Good for us. We got a level up and 3 more. Oops. We can upgrade abilities. Memoirs of an Action Star, said to be the memoirs of a deceased action star, may give you some designs for weapons. Twin hangers. Long nunchaku as a base, plus painted and hanger by 2. Oh, it's all Bruce Lee stuff. It's all Bruce Lee stuff. Right. That's fine. If only that the book only has 2 pages in it. That's fine. That is, yes. I think I will leave until next time we get a level up, and let's go get ourselves assassinated on the roof. That's right. We were going to get assassinated on the roof. Over here. By Kido-chan. Kido-chan. I'm doing the long A's, aren't I? We're going up. Akiyama thinks to himself, this is where I'm supposed to meet up with Kido-chan. Guess I should start climbing. Go to the rooftop? Yes, we're going to the rooftop. Thank you. Akiyama says, okay, I better go see what Kido-chan wants. That is a fairly snazzy bracelet, I must admit. White and black pearls with gold. Very nice. Anyway, Kido says, so Arai really did it, huh? Akiyama says, I couldn't believe it either. Arai-san's too smart to get trigger-happy with someone like that, especially a 2-bit goon like Ihara. Kido says, and nobody's seen him since. Akiyama says, nope, I don't know if the cops are onto him yet, but he killed that creep right there in the middle of town. It's only a matter of time before they figure it out. Kido has nothing to say. Akiyama asks, how are you holding up? Kido again has nothing to say. Akiyama says, You said you found Kanemura, right? Kido says, yeah, right after I lost those Ueno Seiwa guys.
結局新井の兄貴に連絡が取れなかった俺は一旦事務所に戻ることにしたんです。おい、誰かいないのか。親父、失礼します。親父、死んでる。
Kido says, I never got through to Arai Aniki. I ended up reporting the boss's death myself. Akiyama says, must have been rough on you. Kido says, apparently he got stabbed in the back. No real sign of a struggle. That's not all, though. The cops think the killer might be a woman because of how they found him. Akiyama asks, a woman? Kido says, yeah, his shirt was off, and there were traces of lipstick on his neck and lips. Akiyama says, so this girl came in promising action, and gave Kanemura more action than he bargained for. Kido says, that's what it looks like. Still, something doesn't add up. It's just, well... Akiyama asks, what's up? Kido says, when I got back to the office, it was completely empty. That just doesn't happen, ever. Akiyama says, true. You usually have one or two boys keeping an eye on things out front, especially when the boss is in. Kido says, not only that, but... Akiyama asks, but... Kido says, I don't know. The boss never seemed like the kind of guy to fall for that kind of trick, no matter the girl. Akiyama asks, no? Kido says, he didn't really ever talk about women or anything, and he wasn't exactly a spring chicken if you get me. Akiyama says, I hear you, but you never know. Kido asks her. Akiyama says, if the police are right, she must be one hell of a woman. You ever heard of a femme fatale, Kido-chan? Kido asks, a femme fatale? What's that? Akiyama says, a very special kind of woman. She might not be the most gorgeous girl in town, but you can't deny that there's something special about her. And just when it seems like you've got her, she suddenly decides to keep you at arm's length. But that only makes you want her more, and before you know it, she's the only thing you think about. They say a girl like that'll eventually lead you to total ruin. Maybe you'll find one of your own someday, Kido-chan. A woman so alluring you can't possibly pull yourself away. Kido says, can't say I'd complain if I did. Akiyama says, enough about that though. First things first, we've got work to do. Kido asks, work?
なんだあいつら。
柴田組の手先だろうよ。きっとお前か俺の身柄が必要なんだ。なあ、そうだよな。
どういうことですか、秋山さん。
なあ、兄さんよ。俺らの首持ってったって上の世話が納得するわけねえよ。そうだろ。
さあな、それは組長が決めることだ。
おい、ここは俺が食い止める。お前は今のうちに逃げろ。
え、何言ってんすか。
悪い 俺の読みじゃお前より俺の方が断然強い。今はとりあえず逃げろ。
秋山さん。
後でスカイファイナンスで落ち合おう。あそこなら何があっても大丈夫だ。
でも。
早く行け。
はい。
おっと、あんたらの相手は俺だ。
てめえ遊びじゃねえんだぞ。指の一本や二本じゃ済まなくなるぜ。
なんだ、本職の脅しってのもその程度のもんか。今さら指とか古いんだよ。
なんだと。
こっちは鼻から首取られる覚悟でやってんだ。あんたらも肩に舐めてると痛い目に遭うぜ。
言うじゃねえか。それじゃきっちりお前にはこっちの世界のやり方見せてやるぜ。
望むところだ。
仇だから遠慮すんな。しっかり弾取ったれや。やれ。
I mean, you could at least offer to take your shirt off and show us your tattoo. Well, no. That was not nice. Imagine stabbing someone in the back. Thank you. Why are you still standing? Oh, that probably hurt a bit. Shibata family member says, ugh. Akiyama asks, well, had enough? Shibata family member says, damn it, we heard you were good, but we didn't know you were going to be this good. Akiyama says, huh, glad to have a reputation at least. What else are they saying about me? Shibata family member says, you think you're so damn funny, huh? I don't know much, but... Akiyama asks, but what? Shibata family member says, we got boys heading to your office as we speak. Akiyama says, no kidding. Tell me something. They're as tough as you? Shibata family member says, you're up, top of the Shibata family heap. Akiyama says, perfect, then I've got nothing to worry about. Shibata family member asks, what do you mean? Akiyama says, you'll see.
あ、やっべえなこりゃ。
秋山、お前またヤクザ相手に乱闘か？あ？今朝の忠告忘れたわけじゃねえよな。
杉内さん。
ない。言い訳はまた署でゆっくり聞こうじゃねえか。
それちょっと。それに俺、これに関しては被害者だし。
うるせえ！すべこ言ってんじゃねえ！確保！確保だ！はい！
やべ。
待ちなさい！
We appear to be off. Chase battles, fleeing. When you find yourself fleeing during a chase battle, try to accomplish your goal before your chase gauge is fully depleted. Your current objective is to reach Sky Finance. Use the left stick to run during chase events. Make it all the way to Sky Finance without getting caught by the police. And that's been added to the memos. Unleashing heat actions. When you are in danger of being caught, the blue fire icon will sometimes appear in the upper right corner of the screen. Press triangle in time to stop and fight off the pursuer with a heat action. Successfully executing a heat action will temporarily stop the enemy in their tracks. However, as heat actions can only be used once per chase event, use it as a last resort. Right. Quick turns. Quick turns can be used during chase events as a technique to round corners without losing speed. This technique comes in handy in areas with many corners, such as rooftops. Quick turns are executed by using the left stick while pressing R1, and that's been added as a memo. Crossing buildings. At certain points of the rooftops, you can leap from one building to the next. Run towards a leap point to execute a running jump. To make it to the other side unharmed, you must press the correct button with the correct timing. However, even if you fail, you will not fall off the building.
あっちゃー、間に合わなかったか。命拾いしたね。
社長、
ただいま。
はい、お水。
サンキュー。どっちにしてもこれじゃまた警察行きだな。
Well, I am going to call in at the end of the episode at this juncture. And we'll just have to wait and see what the cops actually decide to do with Akiyama in episode 3. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next episode.